Hey guys, well, super pumped to be hanging out with the amazing Jasmine Star, who is not only a photographer, business strategist from Newport Beach, California, which I love. She dropped out of law school, which I'm really keen and interested to hear more about to pursue her dreams of being a photographer. And in just like a few less than a few, like 3 years, she actually built an internationally recognized and award-winning business, later founding Social Curator, which I'm also excited to chat about today, and a social media marketing membership for business owners like me and like you listening along as well, harnessing her chutzpah and hustle. Jasmine empowers entrepreneurs to build a brand, market it on social media, and create the life they love, which is amazing. And some days you'll find her featured on Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Inc. magazine. But most days you'll find her in her sweatpants scrolling through Instagram. But her favorite days are spent with her dog and her high school sweetheart, JD, eating tacos, which I love. Jasmine, welcome. What's up?
Thank you, Ryan. I already feel so warmly welcome. Thank you, friend.
You're amazing. Hey, super cool to be hanging out. Before we just started chatting, you've mentioned it's been a crazy week already, and
Yes.
I want to touch on those things in a bit more depth for everyone. But I'm interested most of all, first of all, of this whole law school dropout thing. Tell us a bit about what was the go there, how you ended on that journey, and then how you jumped off that boat pretty quickly.
It was probably looking back at it, it was one of the best things that could have happened, but at the time it felt pretty devastating. I worked really hard to get into law school, and then during my first year, my mom had a relapse with brain cancer, and the prognosis
Wow.
wasn't good. And so I decided to make a very hard decision and leave school. I was on a full scholarship, and I was like, okay, I'll come back to school. I just really need to be with my mom right now during this difficult time. And unexpectedly, it was during that time that, like, watching her go through chemotherapy. She was 50 years old and I was 25. And I thought to myself, if I have 25 years left to live in my life, I don't want to be a lawyer. Like, I felt like life
Yeah.
was something more for me. And it was supposed to be a really sad time. And what I really felt more than anything was very hopeful. I was hopeful
Sure.
for what was in store. I was hopeful to have a second chance at life. And, like, when you are forced to make a decision, what kind of life you want to lead, sometimes you have to make the hard decision to say, I'm not going to go on this safe and predictable path. I'm going to go towards something that makes me happy. And I planned a wedding in like 3 months. I was like, I want my mom to see me get married. We literally just, it was like 20 of us. We flew to Hawaii. We got married. It was a beautiful day. And then it was time for me to go back to law school. And um, against all odds, my mom started recovering. And I just
Wow.
realized that I just felt like, oh, this is God, this is the universe, this is
Yeah.
an opportunity for me to say, oh, she's here to remind me that I have a second chance because she has a second chance. So I said I wanted to be a photographer. It was the most ridiculous thing. I didn't own a camera. And I just said, this is the thing I want to do. And my new husband, most people would be like, that's a really weird thing. Like, you want to be a photographer, you don't own a camera. That's like saying you want to run in the Olympics, but you haven't even
Sure.
trained. And I was like, I know, but I think I could do it. And crazy enough, he bought me a camera, a very simple camera to begin with. And from there, we built a business. And within 3 years, we were voted some of the top photographers in the world.
No way. There's so much in that. I love second chances. I think that's a
Wow.
an amazing opportunity that we get. What time was this? Was it iPhone era? Was it pre? Was it, did you have a camera on your phone?
Oh my gosh, are you trying to age me right now? Ryan, you're trying to age me.
I'm not trying to age you.
This is
My
definitely
MySpace is where I was playing for a long time, so
okay,
I don't know.
okay. You're making me feel
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
No, it was just before, like, the big social media advent. I got a camera in 2006, and I started my business formally in 2007. And so,
got it.
yes, like, it was a digital revolution. It's like, I had the opportunity to shoot film or digital, and very few people were shooting digital, but I kind of felt like, oh, this is the future. And so
Yeah.
hedged my bets, which was like a good bet, because all of a sudden, when our phones became cameras, I was already ahead of the curve in that regard. And it really squarely positioned me to understand social media in a very different way.
Yeah, wow. 2006, I was refusing to jump on Facebook then. I'm not sure how it was
Oh,
for
same
you.
here. Oh,
Yeah?
same here. Oh, I was totally against it.
What was the flip for you, to go, because there were so many social media changes and I'm going to jump all over the place here.
Please
But
do.
what
I
was
love
it
it.
for
I
you?
love it.
What was it for you that we like, I'll give it a shot?
It was Twitter.
It was
It
Twitter?
was,
Okay.
yeah, it was Twitter. To me, Facebook felt like very, uh, oh my gosh, if I'm being honest, it just felt so evasive. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
like people don't need to know that much about me. Like, and so Twitter was like this safe, like, you know, the Twitterverse. It was just text. It was short little messages. And you were, for all intents and purposes, rewarded for being witty and succinct
Right.
and highly engaged. And so
Yeah.
I did see like business owners starting to use it just to have conversations. And in my way, like to bring everybody up to speed, I grew up, I don't know what they say in Australia about it. Here in the States, we call it like the hood, the ghetto.
Right.
Like my
Okay.
parents are immigrants my father's from Mexico, and like we grew up really, really, really poor. And so
Sure.
the idea that like an immigrant's child would be able to come to America and start a business, I didn't know anybody who had ever started a business. I didn't know anybody who even had like expendable income. So for me, Twitter was like eye-opening. I'm like, so I can now talk to business owners on the internet. It was just this crazy revolution. And that's when I was like, you know, you took a tiny little sip, and then I realized, oh, I'm getting the power of what this thing is.
Wow. And this, I mean, for everyone that knows you, I mean, I feel like, you know, Jasmine Star, it's like what she felt like back then. She had this thing where she could just have a little bit of power on the internet. That's a wild thought to think about all these years later, right?
I know.
But for me, I think that was like MSN, which I thought about prior to MySpace, thinking, who are these people that I'm talking to?
Right. Oh yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, it seems like you've had some seriously like defining moments that have really pivoted from childhood, with your parents, where you've come from, things that, you know, you've put out there very publicly now. Do you want to talk about some of those challenges?
I mean, more than anything, because I can and I will and I want to. But before we ever go there, I think that the main thing to take away is that my story isn't any different and it isn't any better. It's also not any worse than anybody else's story. The way that I have chosen to show up and share my story is the thing that's different. And this is what I encourage a lot of other small business owners to do, is not to hide behind whether or not our story is worthy enough, publishable enough, cool enough, is that we all have the ability to speak our truth and speak to a small group of people who know us, like us, and trust us. And it's this within this new identity that social media, specifically online and specifically marketing when it comes to your business, has really paved a way for us to be our true selves and understand that we're not going to be for everybody. That every time I step out on like the digital stage, like this is just me on my phone. It sounds cooler when I say digital stage instead of like every time I bring up my phone. Really cool. I'm marketing and branding this phone call. No, every time I step out on the digital stage, I know that it is in my best interest long-term to only do one of two things. I want to attract or I want to repel. Every time I go in, I'm not trying to be everything for everybody. And I tell people, you are so perfectly made for a small group of people. And that small group of people is going to be the tribe that's going to take you to the next level. That's going to take you where you want your business to go. They're going to vouch for you. I've always said, I don't want fans. I want evangelists. People who say, I know her story. I know who she is. And then they tell their friends. That's how true growth begins. Slow growth, but really good growth.
Love that. I love that attract and repel. It's a really polarizing thing to come to. And is that like a really big sort of bridge for a lot of the crew and the members in your business? Is that a big bridge that they need to cross to get to the attract repel stage?
You mean like people on my team or people who I seem to attract in my business?
People within Social Curator, let's say.
Got it. You know, here's the thing. People who follow me on social media fall into two camps. They like me or they don't. And people will still follow me even though they don't like me, because it's kind of like that weird satiating, like I don't, it's like driving past a car accident. You don't want to look and yet you do because you're so compelled. I know that there's a group of people that do that. I also know that there's a group of people who really like who I am and what I do. But then of that group of people, there's a very, 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 very small group of people who actually pay me month after month to go have a deeper relationship, to have group coaching, to have resources. Now, of those people who actually voluntarily every month swipe their credit card, I've only done one thing to them, and that is to attract them. I have put out so much content. I put a stake in the ground and saying, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. So by the time they walk into the doors, they're already on my side. I don't have to convince you of a sale. Like, you know who I am. And if you like me up until this point, you're really going to dig me inside of like our private group. So it's been good.
Super cool. Yeah, super, super cool. And on that, I've heard you say a bunch of times, if you don't talk about your business, no one else will.
Yeah.
How has that outworked for you, and where did that sort of come from? Like, if we're not talking about our own business, no one else is going to do it for us.
Well, I think wow, Ryan, these are great questions. I feel like we're unpacking a lot. I feel like I'm in like a therapy session right now. Like I'm gonna come out and just share like my honest truth. And my honest truth is that for years as a business owner, for years, I didn't feel like I was enough. I didn't feel like I was enough to compete with the competition. I didn't feel
Yeah,
like I was enough with my camera. I didn't feel like I was enough as an entrepreneur. And as a result of feeling less than, I stopped myself from talking about what changes I can make in somebody's life, what
got it.
photos I can take that can transform a family legacy. And so instead, I just hoped quietly in a corner, be like, oh,
Just
maybe, just maybe, And then I started realizing that like the world isn't your oyster. The world is the world is your oyster as long as you pick it up and you put it to your mouth and then you suck it whole. Like
yeah,
that is it. You have to take some sort of action. And one of my favorite quotes is like, action is the antidote to fear. For so long, all I was fearful that my business wasn't enough, that I would
love
stop
that.
talking about it. But once we actually took the action of saying, this is what I do and this is who I'm for, which at the time seemed so scary. But the minute I did it again and again and again, and the minute I teach other people, listen, you're not going to be for everybody. You're going to be for the 1%. And of that 1%, they're going to be the people that take your business to the next level. So yeah, if you are not talking about your business, nobody else will. And I wish somebody would have told me that for the first 5 years of my business.
Wow. Oh, I love that. So much gold in there. And I love that you feel that this is a therapy session both ways.
I'm
I'll,
gonna send you a check. I'm gonna send you a check just for like the therapy I'm getting today. Yes.
totally cool. Talking about showing up, I mean, you talk about that a lot. That's a huge part of you, your brand, and then what you help others outwork in their business. What does it take to really show up every day? And like, why is that so important, especially when there's so much noise and chaos happening every single day?
It's crazy because I think part of my appeal, and when I say my, I don't personify it. I'm saying my as in the collective of what the brand, of what social curator, of who I am as a person. That appeal is that people look at me and I am not so different from them. I am not so wildly artistic and I am not so wildly competent and I'm not so wildly intellectual. I'm kind of like a person who they could potentially be a friend with, but kind of like gives them a lot of tough love. And as a result of that, and as a
Love
result
it.
of me walking the walk and talking the talk, when I preach consistency, when I preach showing up, I am living proof that you do not have to be the smartest, the richest, the wittiest, the prettiest, the skinniest, the youngest, the smartest. You don't have to
Preach
be
it.
any of those things. You just have to show up consistently and be you. And the,
Yeah.
the beauty and the beast of it is that showing up is the hardest thing to do. And even though I am not the smartest, the richest, the bestest, the skinniest, the prettiest, I can still show up and prove to other people I'm doing it, guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing it and you could too. Do you want to join me in the gritty, ugly grind of showing up every day when tech fails, showing up every day when you get a mean comment, showing up every day when you have 3 hours of sleep, showing up every day when everything you've planned out somehow just disappears into like the vacuous internet because you're like, and I didn't back it up. Like
Yeah.
all of those days, you must choose to say, I will be consistent. I will show up. Why? Because the battle goes to those who get up every single time. That's just
So,
it.
amazing, amazing. I love that thought that you said. One, consistency, a massive part about owning and running a business successfully. But then two, being action, being the antidote to fear. So I think fear is one of those things that can really strangle us as business owners, especially if we're doing the journey alone or we're just starting out. Um, I watched your IGTV live, not live, but I watched that this morning. And
Oh.
you spoke about the first 3 years of your business. And the first year, you just learned a lot of lessons and you were all lessoned out. What was it that got you into year two and you thought, this was pretty hard, but I'm going to keep going forward and not turn around the other way?
I've always been, and a lot of people I'm sure can identify. I think that as an entrepreneur, like there's this thing that drives you, this inner driving force of being better, getting better, and just like the thrill of the hunt. the love of the game, you know, the getting the win. And for me, even though we took a hit that first year, and actually when I say we took a hit, we didn't take a hit financially, we didn't take a hit like vanity metrics, like social media, we didn't take my ego took a hit, you know.
Yes.
I'm like, I just don't know nothing. I'm like, I'm getting hit from left to right. We had, during our first year, as like, you know, the first couple of years, it was one of the most successful parts of my life and my business, but it was just lesson after lesson, and it's hard. Even though you're like technically on paper doing well, emotionally, you got to show up in a very different way. So that was very, very, very hard. But then when year 2 came around, I'm not going to look, I'm going to distill it to you straight. It was still a very difficult decision to say, okay, we're going to try this one more year. We're going to try this again. And then every year we got a little bit easier and a little bit easier. Now, it's still an active decision to say, I'm going to show up even though it's really difficult, because the problems just become new. But you say, okay, I've done this before. Like, I see you fear, I see you doubt, I see you across the room. I know you're coming, breathing down my neck. I'm not going to pay attention. I've been here before. I'm going to keep on doing my thing.
And what has having a coach of your own, because I mean, you're a coach to so many. What's it been having James in your world as a coach? And what was it inside you that thought, I need someone on that next level to pull me up so that I can help pull those up to my level? What was that for you? How's that been?
You know, Ryan, I think it's what I want to say. The temptation I want to say is how I had, you know, a very like esoteric, very metaphysical experience I've been following. He was like an aspirational model. It was literally one night on the internet from a podcast, a link in show notes had said, we made a mention of James Wedmore. And I was like, who is this person? And I click and I go to a website that's half kind of sort of working. And then it's like, sign up for a free class tomorrow. And I was like, a free class on the internet? Oh, that's such a novel idea. And so then I sign up, and then the next day I take my very first all-time ever webinar, an online class. Never had done this. And this is in 2016. This is not like in 1996. Like, this is like recent. And I'm like, what is this thing? And he gives a presentation and he talks about the importance of a mastermind. I had never even heard of the word mastermind. I had never heard of group coaching. I had never heard, I didn't know anything about digital marketing. All I knew is I had grown a successful business on digital. I just didn't have a very strong strategy behind it. And he pitched this idea for this mastermind, and my husband and I were eating dinner and we're listening to the audio of this class. And my husband's like, wow, he's like, this guy sounds smart. It's probably really expensive. And I was like, oh, I'm sure it's really expensive. My husband's like, how much do you think? And I was like, I think he's going to charge like $5,000. And then my husband's like, no, I think it's going to be like $8,000. And I was like, are you kidding me? This guy's drunk if he's going to charge $8,000, right? And then he gets to the end of the call and he's like, and it's $25,000. And I was like, what? This is the ludicrous. I slammed my laptop down. I was like, this guy's a snake oil, like a snake oil man. Like, I'm getting ripped off. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then I'm in the kitchen and we're washing dishes and we're chatting, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, exactly.
What if?
What if this was the thing that I had been missing? And what if? Wow. And then you had to apply. And so I told my husband, I'm like, I'm not going to get accepted. I don't have I don't sell digital products. I don't sell courses. I don't do any of this stuff. I'm not going to get accepted. And my husband's like, you're going to get accepted. And I was like, no. I'm just going to take a chance to fill out the application. And I filled the application. I was accepted and just didn't look back from them. And that was the year that was extraordinarily difficult. Like, I was a talented photographer with a worldwide brand, and I was jack squat in a new industry, not knowing anything. And it's like that. Are you familiar with that? Like Drake, we started from the bottom, now we're here. Like, that's what we had to do all over again, you know? So it was a little bit crazy, but amazing.
Crazy. And so that's only been a 3-year journey now.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be, really quickly, what would have been just some of the big takeouts that you've gone, wow, that's been a huge learning in my business that I'm not turning back from?
I mean, there's too many to list, but I'll just break it down the way that I broke it down. What did I learn in 2016, 17, and then 18? Because as presently, at the time of the recording, we're in 2019. It's still too early to tell what I'm going to learn. But in 2016, it was really and truly shifting my mindset. Because up until this point, everything had only been categorized in two ways. It was either a win or it was a loss. And
Got it.
I was the one that was setting the standards to what a win was. And I set impossibly high standards. So I was perpetually beating myself up for not living to an imaginary standard and line of where I thought I should be. And so
Wow.
every morning I would wake up and I would say, you got to push harder. You got to do more. You're not doing enough. You're failing. And then I encounter James and he's like, there's literally no such thing as a failure. And I'm not sounding like warm and fuzzy. You're just learning. Like you're smarter and you're hungrier and you're learning. And so then the year two, I had to break this like pattern, the way I spoke to myself, the way that I demanded of myself, that had to change. And then all of a sudden in 2017, what I really learned that year was you have to have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough.
Love that.
It was just, how many times do you have to break old patterns to come out as the new person, as the new entrepreneur, as the new CEO? And that was a whole redefining moment where I had to say, our business kept on getting successful, but I had to be broken in so many places and learn how to navigate growing a team. I learned how to navigate rebranding, learning how to navigate growing a tribe of people outside of the creative world of photography into entrepreneurship. And then 2018 was more about refining my vision. I could no longer, I had grown the business to such a point that I could no longer be an entrepreneur. I had to be a visionary. Now that I had built a team around me, I couldn't say, hey guys, here's our financial goals for the year. Like, that's not inspiring. I had to say, you guys, what I vision in 2 years is to impact 10,000 people as part of a membership and empower them to build big wins around their small lives so that they have the keys to their freedom. When they wake up, they know there's a purpose and a calling in their life. And a lot of people are doing that by way of their business. That's my vision. Are you guys on board? And everyone's like, hell yes, we're doing this. So,
come on.
You know, all big lessons every year.
Yeah, a big believer in that vision word there. So it's, you know, tried and true. You know, where there is no vision, people perish, right?
Yes.
And it's easy to see you're a visionary. I love that. I love hearing it. I can't believe I'm hearing it from your own mouth. That's just unreal. And I want to dive a little bit more into challenges. We spoke about it a little bit off air. This week alone, you've had tech challenges.
Yes.
This week, I've had tech challenges as well. Things went down in the dumps yesterday. But there's been two specific ones I'm sure you're familiar with in your world in the last maybe quarter that were pretty big. One, hanging out with Gary Vee. Maybe you could tell us a little bit around that and how you dealt with it and flipped that on its head.
So I am like unabashedly like president of the Gary Vaynerchuk fan club. Okay. I'm pretty sure I have pom-poms and like University of Vayner sweatshirt somewhere in my house. I really, really, really dig all he is. I believe that he walks the walk. I believe that he talks the talk. And, you know, whenever I find somebody that I admire and that inspires me and who I want to pattern my actions and thoughts to be like, oh, an alignment, I want to double down on what I'm investing in. And Gary doesn't have masterminds. He doesn't have courses. He doesn't have all these other things. But I was listening to his podcast. I was buying his books. And then he had the opportunity to invest in a program called the 4Ds. And so for one day, and this was a big thing for me, Ryan, like I said, I grew up really, really, really poor. So I had to work around a lot of like money, association, worth, and all this other stuff. And this event was one day in New York City for $10,000. And I did the same thing. I slammed my laptop down. I was like, this is freaking crazy. Who's going to pay this? This is ridiculous. And then later that day, I was like, so the question then became, if I go to this event, could I generate at least $10,000 from what I learned at that event? That was the barometer. And I was like, I can. I believe I can generate $10,000 by learning one small thing at that event. So I booked my tickets. I went. The entire Vayner organization is just as incredible in person as they are online. They freaking are just amazing. Gary came in for 2 hours, did a Q&A. I was gobsmacked. I asked some dumb question that didn't even matter. I was totally forgettable, Ryan. I was like a person, and when I get really nervous, no. And here's the thing, you know how Gary preaches self-awareness? I'm pretty self-aware. I was completely forgettable. And I'm like, that's how I was, you know, like I was really quiet. I wasn't like, you know, the talker. I wasn't the center of attention. I was just quietly writing notes. I actually took my iPhone and I made a behind the scenes video of my day at the 4Ds. So that's out on YouTube, that's out on Facebook because I wanted to document the process. And so Gary went in for like 2 hours, gave this amazing Q&A, so value driven, cared about the people in the room. And then when he launched Case with Sneakers, I was like, I just want to support him. And I wanted to support him for two ways, because like I had mentioned, my dad is an immigrant. And so we didn't have any money. We never bought clothes. They were always given to us. But my dad took a third job during the holiday season. So he was working 3 jobs. He wasn't sleeping very much. But that Christmas, he was able to buy me and my sister our very first pair of brand new shoes. And those brand new shoes were the white classic K-Swiss. And so K-Swiss, like super, super, super sentimental to me. So when I saw that Gary was doing the K-Swiss thing, I was like, man, this is amazing. But he was giving away 5 minutes of time with him on Instagram Live if you bought 35 pairs of K-Swiss shoes. And he was pitching it like, buy the shoes and then you could just flip them on eBay. And I was like, one, I ain't got time to flip on eBay. I got an organization to run. But then I thought to myself, my dad gave me a pair of K-Swiss and I felt like a new person. So what I did is I got the 35 pairs of K-Swiss and I donated them to a young women and men entrepreneurship program here in Los Angeles for underprivileged kids. And so Gary was just stoked that those shoes went to those kids. They're not going to be flipped. There's going to be a full run there for kids who can't afford shoes here in Los Angeles. It was a total win. So we set up a time to go live on Instagram Live because this is part of the negotiations. I bought the shoes. I get to go 5 minutes with you. And so I call my videographer. We're waiting. And then tech happens and I can't get through. And he keeps on saying my name. He's like, Jasmine, where are you? Jasmine. And I'm like, I'm here. And the Instagram gods are just not making it happen. And so then we tried to reschedule it and it didn't work again. And but the good thing is, right, we recorded it. Like we recorded everything. And
that's where you flipped it.
You what?
That's where you flipped it, right?
Yeah. It was understanding, and this is what I firmly believe, as of the recording, we still have not rescheduled, which would now be the third opportunity for me to be fulfilling on a contract. And I have a total sense of peace about it. Like, I believe I am supposed to do something different in a different way at a different time. I'm not going to say I lost an opportunity. I'm going to say the opportunity is coming to me at the right time.
Yeah,
and that's just like a mindset shift. And honestly, it makes me sharper as a business owner and entrepreneur to think that way.
I love that. Oh, amazing. It was amazing from this side of the fence, not to watch that unfold, but how it unfolded and how you turned that, what some people would call like devastating, end of the world for some maybe, and how you turned that into showing up once again, live, honest, humble and true to yourself and to everybody else that's part of your community. So well done on that. But also recently you've had a similar experience with SOS.
Yeah.
With social curator online, right? Where thousands of people were ready to hang out. And again, the internet gods, the streaming, fairies didn't show up. And walk us through that in a couple of minutes. And again, how that affects you as an entrepreneur, as someone successful that everybody sees, and then how you deal with that to get back up on your feet again.
Yeah. I want to make something very clear, that the stories that I share, like that my pitfalls or my frustrations, they aren't any different and they're not special. Mine just happened to come in a way that I have the opportunity to talk about with Brian. But as you hear the story, take away the details, but hang on to the emotion, because we've all experienced the emotion. And the emotion is, we had 9,000 people signed up to take an online class. And we were super stoked. I was so excited. The whole team and I had spent weeks preparing for a really great class. And so we go live. And for some reason, we're capped at 1,000 people. And so just imagine, we have all these people who can't get in. They're emailing our support team. And when I say our support team, it's 2 beautiful women, but like, they don't have fingers of fire. They're like, oh my God, they're trying to get in. And this whole time I'm teaching, I'm not knowing what's going on. And then 20 minutes later, we finally get the situation rectified. But by that time, there's so many people who are disappointed, and they're not going to be staying there for 20 minutes, like hoping on a prayer they're going to be let in. And so then in the middle of it, people keep on saying, the stream is broken up. We can't watch it. We can't hear it. And I'm like, what is going on? And then right as I get to the end where I'm teaching, like, this is how it all comes together. I get kicked off my own webinar. Like, how does this happen? And so there we have thousands of people, not as many as who had been there, because we lost so many of them along the way because of all the tech issues. All of a sudden they just see a black screen. And so it takes us like 8 minutes to come back on. But who's waiting 8 minutes in front of a dark screen to be like, oh, I hope she returns?
No,
You
that's
know,
the end of the world, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, basically. I mean, that's just the truth, right? And so even though, no, here's the thing, you've experienced a feeling like this where you know you're like, it's technically over. So you have a decision to say, you know what? We did our best. We're just going to email everybody and explain what happened. Or you could say, I'm going to show up and I'm going to finish this freaking course if it kills me to show to people. If nothing else, I finish what I started. Because I have to, if I tell people you must finish, then I must finish first. I need to show people that I can be trusted because come hell or high water, I will finish the dang thing. And this is what I tell people again and again. Finish what you started. There is beauty in the brokenness.
Whoa. Oh, preach it. That's amazing. Finish what you started. There's beauty in the brokenness. Oh, amazing. Thank you for sharing that and also inspiring with that, just to continue on. Like, get back up on your feet. That is just unreal. Most people would be out of the game, you know, with that sort of emotion going on and after all the planning and effort that had gone into it. So I watched the training again on Facebook. Amazing. Absolutely incredible and awesome to see your community in full support and full swing as well.
Thank you.
Tell me a bit about Social Curator and how does someone come from, you know, providing a service, photography, and then this idea drops or you hear it or you come across it, you have this middle of the night moment, you think, I can help a lot more people and impact a lot more people with this one skill that I have instead of a one-to-one. Tell me a bit about that.
So as we previously spoke about, I am a photographer. That's basically how I got started in the space. And at the time of me starting my photography career, I started a blog to document what I was learning. So it just became literally an online journey of, oh, this is what I learned today. And oh, I got a new camera, I got a new lens. And it just became an online diary of the journey. But what I didn't know at the time was that it was essentially becoming my website, my portfolio. And people happened to like the way that I wrote. And so people immediately personified me as a blogger. Oh, she's a blogger with a camera. Right. And then all of a sudden, like the business really took off and people started calling me a photographer who happened to have a blog. And to me, it was whatever you want to call me, I'm fine, as long as I get to pursue my creativity. And then, you know, as the years progressed, I was able to connect with photographers and people in the creative space, teaching them how to run a better business. It's just not about the services or products that we provide. And then other businesses started asking me to consult their businesses on their marketing and branding strategies. And so I started to do that. And then I realized that I didn't have a scalable model in my business in any way, shape, or form. I was taking on photography gigs, I was taking on editorials, I was taking on consulting, I was taking on writing projects, all severely reliant on my time. And exactly. So we're doing like a one-to-one style thing. And even though I started creating scalable versions of my business, the three things I heard again and again when I said, okay, guys, now it's time to take action. Now it's time for consistency. Now it's time to show up. The three things I heard over and over and over again is, well, Jasmine, it's easy for you because you're a photographer, because you have nice photos. The second thing I heard, well, it's easy for you, Jasmine, because you know how to write. And then the third thing I heard again and again is like, well, it's easy for you because you know what you're doing on social media. And I'm like, right. All of those things are purportedly easy because I do them.
Sure, because you've learned them.
It takes a lot of work. And so I thought to myself, what is going to be a way for me to overcome these hurdles, to empower people to show up? And so I thought to myself, I'm a photographer. I know how to capture imagery that will start an engaging conversation online. I am a writer, so I know how to prompt people how to have engaging conversations on social. And the proof is in the pudding. People talk back to me on social. I teach other people how they can start the same conversations. And then lastly, I literally am just sharing everything I know about social in a clear-cut action plan. Because oftentimes you can spend $400 on an Instagram course and it's great. It's probably amazing. You're learning a lot, but it's analysis paralysis. You know so much that you're like, I don't know where to begin. Every month in Social Curator, it's just a broken down marketing plan. It's like, what is your IGTV strategy this month? What is like, how are you going to, we have an Instagram challenge this month for you to show up every single day. How are you going to revive your Facebook page? It's all micro steps to big changes every single month without being overwhelming. And it literally gives you a turnkey solution to show up.
Ah, so cool. And what's the one aha when people take that leap and go, I'm going to trust Jasmine and jump into this community? What's that aha that they first get when they jump into the community?
The aha, which has been a beautiful thing because people in the story, I mean, people in the community, specifically in the group, they're sharing their stories. We've now had Social Curator just over a year. And it's now that people are coming back and saying, it has only been after 12 months of showing up consistently and applying every single strategy again and again and again that I'm getting these massive changes. And so for me, that is the most gratifying thing because people want to come in and in 2 months feel like, okay, so I have 1,000 followers now, and by next month I'm gonna have 100,000, right? And I'm like, no, no, that's not how it works. So the biggest aha moment is that people say there is proof in the work. Then the question becomes, are you willing to do the work? And that has been the biggest aha. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool. And what's it like to journey with people for 12 months, you know, within your community? You must get pretty close to them. You must.
It is truly so rewarding. Last night, I actually had a conversation with a friend. We went out to dinner, and then him and his wife came over to the house, and he said, what are you most fulfilled by? Because certainly, you know, you're doing the same thing again. You're always on social, you're always creating content, you're always doing this. Like, do you think you're going to get to a point where it's just not enough? And I said, I can't speak to that clearly because I know that I'm happy now. And I know that I'm creatively fulfilled now. But I know that my purpose is beyond me. My purpose isn't to create a fan club. My purpose is to look at other people and hold space for them when they can't hold space in their belief in themselves. Like, I believe that people can do crazy and wild things if other people just gave them the permission to say, take the risk, do the work, show up. And that's what I'm really good at. I am really good at believing in stupid, crazy, outlandish dreams because people believed in me, and look what happened. The greatest gift I can give a business owner is to say, do it. Life is short. Do not end up doing something that makes you miserable because it is safe. That is a life that is not fully lived. Take the risk, do the thing, have fun along the way, make mistakes, dust yourself up, stand up again, and take a lot of pride in the thing that you're producing.
Oh, thank you so much. And you mentioned outlandish dreams. What's one of Jasmine Star's outlandish dreams at the moment?
I want to create a media company.
Yeah.
I want to create a media company. I do not want to be an influencer. I do not consider myself an influencer, but I want to create content that influences, that inspires people without a clear, distinct call to action, that we're able to collaborate with other businesses and organizations who do believe in the beauty of like the human spirit and being undaunted and broken, and being able to say, hey, this is the community. This is how we're going to be changing what the internet looks like. We're not going to be doing how things have been traditionally done in digital marketing. We're going to be charting our own course and doing big things. And if you like the vision, come on over to the media company. We'll show you how it's done.
Oh, so super cool. I'm excited about that. And I think that's a huge thing, right? People, you know, influencers, we can talk about that until we're blue in the face, but really it's leadership. And leadership encompasses a lot more of a journey with someone instead of a one-hit influence. You know, all leadership is influence. And so I think that word influencer in the century that we're in has come about fashionably. And I'm with you. Let's not be influencers. Let's lead people towards goals, dreams, and real outcomes. I think that's so powerful. Super cool.
You're preaching now, Ryan. Go ahead, preach.
The mic is yours today. Hey, I want to ask you. This is changing topics, and but I mean, there's someone behind the scenes that's you know, big part of what you do. You know, might be called your Robin to your Batman or your Aladdin to your Jasmine. You might know who I'm talking about. Can you tell us a bit about JD and how you guys have journeyed along? And you know, did you always work together? What does he bring that you can't bring? What does he do that people don't see?
Okay, so I mean, we'll probably talk for another 16 hours. I don't know how to not stop talking about him.
In the 60 seconds I know that we've got left.
JD and I are co-visionaries for our business. I know it's my name and my face on the outside, but we are 50% business partners, owners, life partners. And I do think it's really important to understand that the relationship that we have had has become synergistic well over a decade as a result of really open communication. And sometimes when either a guy will come up to me and say, I really want my wife to work with me, or a girl will come up to me like, I really want my husband to work with me. My first answer isn't, yes, do it. My first answer is like, whoa, make sure you know what you're getting into. It is not for everybody. It is not for everybody. I will say that by beautiful stroke of luck and benevolence and divine opportunity, JD and I met when we were 17 years old. we've literally grown up together. And so we were able to grow with each other instead of, it's maybe perhaps a little bit more complicated. The older you get, you're set in your ways and you've done your own life patterns, and then trying to get somebody else to like mold with you. So we've grown together. We have a lot of open communication. And when I started the business, he was with a startup company. And we were married about 2 years before I said, I think I need to hire somebody to come help me run the business. And I said, I can't pay you what they're paying you, but there's a lot more upside. If we do this thing, there's a lot more upside. So he agreed to join my business full time in like 2009. And
so the pitch worked, hey?
Yeah.
The pitch worked.
It did. So but now I casually joke. I'm like, hey, I'm like an Amazon stock real early. Like you got in on the ground floor. Like you didn't know really what you were buying, but look at our stock now, baby. We're good.
Amazing. That's so cool. Love seeing that. And it's really powerful to see just a team going at it side by side. I think that's really inspiring to a lot of people, not just myself. So thanks for sharing that, as much as he doesn't like it.
I know. He's totally, it's ironic that his wife, really talks about being present, being consistent, showing up on social media, and he's basically a ghost on social media.
Sure. Hey, I know time is now coming to an end, and I'd love to ask you a big question, but to get you to answer it shortly before we call the call to a close. Is that cool with you?
Absolutely.
Are you ready for this question?
Yes.
All right. If everything went down the drain, like gone tomorrow, Jasmine Star, the business, the community disappears, and you're now Jasmine Jones, back on level one, and all you've got is your laptop and an internet connection. What are you going to do in 30 days to get yourself back off the ground and going again?
Oh, the same thing I'm doing now.
All right.
I'm writing content for searchability.
Okay.
I'm putting out valuable pieces.
Yeah.
And I'm posting live video.
Love it.
It's truly like it's the same principles. What I started doing when I had no money in 2007 is truly the same thing I'm doing now in 2019. Basic marketing principles don't change. We just happen to want to complicate it when they doesn't have to be. It's show up, create great content, connect with your people, never undervalue the one-to-one connection, build your tribe of the 1%. They are going to be the ones to take you to the next level.
Amen and amen. I'm with you there 100% of the way. Jasmine, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. So cool to have you on the show. Appreciate your time. Everybody else appreciates you showing up. So thank you so much. And hey, I'll be in your city in a couple of days' time. So looking forward to feeling that. Hopefully it's LA sun. Is there at the moment? Or you got a bit of rain recently, I know. So
and we have a bit of rain this weekend too. So please bring the sun with you. Please pack it in a suitcase.
I'll pack it away. And before we wrap up, where can people come and hang out with you on the regular?
You can find me on all social platforms at Jasmine Star and at jasminestar.com.
Got it on the lockdown. Thank you, Jasmine. It's been amazing. Bless you heaps, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Damn, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I had making it. And that friend that popped into mind while listening along, why not shoot them the link and send them some love so we can help people grow in their personal and business lives together. And hey, if you'd like to connect with me personally and find out if or how I can help you in your business, jump over to icreateordie.com and let's connect today. Until next time, this is Ryan Bowles. Go well and bye for now.